Hey there, friends, neighbors, and comrades. It's Jason Wyman here. Normally, I'd be coming to you with a little update about Aptos, and I'd be closer to the Aptos campus. Instead, I am coming to you with an update from Aptos, but from my house, because classes have been canceled for the next 2 weeks due to the coronavirus. I understand precautions wanting to and needing to be made. Also, it's unfortunate. I'm in the middle of working with a group of students, which is a beautiful thing, and we are working on a project that is kind of timely. And so I didn't want to not be there for class, even though I cannot be there for class. So this week, I have designed 2 different zines in order to help me continue to build with Ms Becker's class. And then I created a short little video, about a 10-11 minute video that they're going to be screening, or that they already screened this morning, and then they went into the zine making. So I just want to give you a very quick overview of everything that I'm doing with Ms Becker's class. I'm going to go fast for the most part because I don't have a lot of time. So this is what we're doing. We are making my Aptos story, and so I made a zine called A Guide to Telling My Aptos Story. And in this zine, you can see here that I am defining stories, and I am not only defining stories, but I am defining stories and how we're actually going to be making my Aptos story. So one of the points here is that stories are what we create as a means to communicate something that needs telling. So they're all telling stories about Aptos Middle School. And the way that they're going to do it is they're going to create a zine, and that zine is going to have different panels. It'll have a cover panel, then it'll have a page 1 and a page 2, then it'll have a page 3 and 4, a page 5 and 6, and a back cover. So they're pretty much making the exact same kinds of zines that I'm sharing with them. That's what we're doing. Then I also designed this right here, which is possible stories, prompts, and paths. One of the big issues is, how do we tell stories? And so how do we tell stories in zine format? And how do we communicate things? And so for me, I thought it would be crucial to be able to provide ways to be able to think about this stuff. But I am not a linear thinker. I'm not necessarily this, then this, and this, even though that is the way often stories are told, is beginnings, middles, and ends. So I wanted to create something that leaned into kind of sequential thinking, while also could expand sequential thinking into thinking more in terms of mapping, and how is a story a map, not necessarily something sequential. And so most of these all have a sequential order to them in terms of prompts. This one time, and then finally there's a beginning, a middle, and an end in terms of those 3 prompts. But you can also go down a path of divergence and find something else. So you could start with what needs to change, and then go over to it reminds me, and then from then on. So there's multiple ways in which that you can navigate this little map, and only some of the paths have been highlighted. After that, I wanted to give some specific tips for creating my Aptos story. Some of the ones are, I really want them to include facts. And facts for this purpose, we are defining as something that has been verified by 2 or 3 people. I really want them talking to their peers. I want them talking to teachers, administrators, other adults and folks in the building, to find out if the story that they're telling has elements, factual elements to it that have been verified by other folks. Just kind of keeping it in the realm of thinking about journalism and how we bring more truth into storytelling. The second thing that I really want them to consider is, is the story that they're telling true, given the facts that they have been able to find and the style in which that they're actually telling their story. I'm going to go into style a little bit more next week, but there are 4 different styles that we're going to be looking at: informational, persuasive, autobiographical, and speculative. So we're actually going to be talking about that more next week, and what those things are. But each one of those has a different element to them. And so given the style that you're telling your story in and the facts that you have, is it true to you? And do you believe it to be true? And then just some really basic tips, like if you're getting stuck, that's totally cool. Everyone has writer's block. That's totally acceptable. And so try doodling, try drawing, try asking questions, try, looking something up on your phone. The important thing is just come back and continue working at some point. And then the final real point is that this is your story. Right here it says it. This is your story. That means that this story is actually personal. Everyone is working at a table with additional students, so I thought that it was important to frame it that this is something that's really personal to everyone. And if it's personal to you, it's personal to everyone else at your particular table. And so keep that in mind as you're being distracted. Don't distract others who do want to tell their own story and get to work. And then finally, the back page is just some blank space for folks to write down their own tips. So that is just the overview or the guide to telling my Aptos story. Just wanted to give kind of this big picture of what is this thing that we're doing, what is this project, and how are we doing it. But the real meat and potatoes of the day, or the real juicy bits, or the things that we're actually going to be working on is this. It's called My Aptos Story, The Outline. Again, another zine. Again, we're all creating zines, and so I think it's important to use repetition to reinforce the ways in which we can connect with and understand mediums on paper. That's the medium we're using. We're using paper and pen. So we just need to continually, repetitiously do that over and over and over again. So for this one, to get us to the outline, what have I witnessed here at Aptos? Again, kind of what have I witnessed here at Aptos? This is a space for brainstorming, writing down all the different things that you've actually witnessed there at Aptos. The second one, this is where we're getting into, verified facts and really kind of trying to think through verified facts. So this one is who else witnessed it? So looking back at the last page, who else witnessed the things that you're writing about, and how might their perspective inform your story? So not just who witnessed it, but take a moment and really think about it. Think about the counter narrative. Think about the questions that they might have. Think about how they might have seen it differently than you. And then the next one is write a 3-sentence story. And as you can see along the bottom here, just a reminder to go and check out this particular guide if you're getting stuck, because there's already prompts in there that have a 3-sentence story structure with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So again, just kind of trying to make it as easy as possible for folks, while also providing blank space and as much room for people to tell the stories that they want to tell that are not necessarily having to conform to the way that this particular body has necessarily structured it. And then finally, there's some final reflection questions. Specifically, just a reminder to take a look at your whole story and ask the question, what's missing? What else do you want to know or tell? And where can you find the info or details you need? So again, kind of going back to stories can be more fleshed out. We can always talk to more people. We can get more ideas that can help us provide a different perspective so that the stories that we're telling are actually true to what we know to be true. So that's just a little bit about what I'm doing with Aptos in the 6th grade classroom. Next week, we're going to be diving into style. I'm going to be creating a My Aptos Story style guide. And we're going to be talking about the different ways that you can write your story and the different ways that you can express that story aesthetically, since scenes are also aesthetic mediums. That's all I got for now. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching and keeping up to date at what I'm doing here at Aptos Middle School, or I guess from my home at Aptos Middle School today. I hope you are all well and taking care of yourself, and please don't forget to connect with people. I know that we might be social distancing and all of these kinds of things, but it's also important that we remain in community with those that are in our communities, and check in on folks and call them and video them in and create small little videos in ways that we can still be in relation with one another. It's crucial at this time so that we do not become more and more divided. Ciao for now.